Hi, welcome to Critical Q&A, the show where I answer your questions that you've left for me in the comments section of my YouTube channel here. This is unscripted. I am just spontaneously answering questions that have been sent to me. And I've got to tell you, after my first episode, I got an overwhelming number of questions, which was great, sent to me by email and left for me, and I'm very happy about that. So let's get started. Paul Roper. Good work, Chris. Can you explain why so-called nice people like Tom Cruise, John Travolta, Will Smith have anything to do with this pretty evil organization? Are they brainwashed? Have they got something on Tom and John? I don't get it. And Rob Bellman asks, do celebrities get special treatment within Scientology? Can you also make a video addressing this topic? Celebrities get special treatment. Celebrities do not experience Scientology the same way that the run-of-the-mill public receives Scientology or experiences it, and they don't experience it the same way, certainly, that staff or Sea Organization members experience Scientology. In fact, I would say that the way celebrities are handled is pretty much the polar opposite of how Sea Organization members are handled. They are given VIP treatment 100%. They are certainly directed on things to do and are told what to do about certain actions like PR actions and whatnot, and they're drilled and they're given what kind of questions people are going to ask and what kind of answers they're supposed to give. But they are given services, the Scientology services that celebrities receive, they're given in their own course rooms, their own special areas off of or away from where regular public and staff members are serviced. So they get kind of a very exclusive kind of treatment. And of course they always get the best of everything, and they're always handled sort of with kid gloves. I think the only exception to that is if the celebrity becomes critical of the church itself, like Leah Remini, in which case they themselves start getting raked over the coals. Probably, again, more nicely than your regular public would, but they still, if you start bad-mouthing David Miscavige, the velvet glove comes off and the iron hand appears, So, are they brainwashed? I don't know. I mean, as much as any other Scientologist is. I mean, they read Hubbard's works. They choose to believe what he says. They, don't apply critical thinking to it like all of us didn't. And so they get, snowed by whatever the lines are that they get snowed by. I don't know. So I don't think they get any other special brainwashing, particularly as far as that goes. But they do get special treatment. And I guess the last thing I want to say about this is, from what I've read, I never interacted with Tom Cruise or dealt with Tom Cruise in any way, but from what I've read about his experiences with David Miscavige and with the Sea Organization, he is a bit of a special case. He's been catered to and wined and dined and given special treatment that I have never heard any other celebrity receiving, in terms of Sea Organization members going and fixing up his house and his garage or his hangar, and dealing with his family, domestic situation and whatnot. I've never heard of that kind of close attention and care and work being done for anybody else. And I find it impossible to believe that Tom Cruise has not peered behind the veil, had an opportunity to kind of see that what he's been receiving and what he's gotten is way above and beyond what any Scientologist would be expected to receive. And I think he's taken advantage of that, and I don't think that's right. And I think he's got, some answering to do on that, and I think that might be part of the reason why he is not particularly forthcoming, and why he still sides with the church and is still actively an ally of David Miscavige and of the church. So that's my take on that. It's just my opinion. David Jordan. If Scientology reformed like you spoke of in your first question, would you rejoin? Absolutely not. There is absolutely nothing that would ever happen that would get me to rejoin the Church of Scientology. Now that I have sort of peered behind the veil and seen what's actually going on, I've sort of seen behind the curtains, so to speak, there would be nothing that would ever get me to go back. I don't see any value, and like I've said before, I don't see anything in Scientology that can't be gotten elsewhere without all of the cult, authoritarian, dictatorial controls that the Church of Scientology instills and gets their claws into you and demand a tremendous level of control over your life, over every aspect of your life. I would never let anybody or anything do that to me again. Period. So, no. Jesus Christ. Chris, I wish I had your moderate tone and method of rational discussion. It's hard for me to restrain myself to an effective level of volume. When I think about all of these things going on with Scientology and what it has done to people, I just scream and want to punch people. That is really difficult for me because I lean a little Buddhist and wish I could tolerate the shame and degradation CFS imposes upon its victims/followers. My question, what is your secret for not exploding like the Tasmanian devil as I seem to do? Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about how I got into the critical thinking thing, because that kind of answers the question. When I first went down the rabbit hole in 2013 and started going into the internet and finding out things that I had no idea about in regards to Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard's history, David Miscavige's history, things that had gone on with the church that I had never known about, I was in a state of shock and betrayal. I had invested 27 years of my life into this activity, most of it 24/7, and to find out that I had been being taken advantage of and used was a shock. And there was a great deal of anger and upset at that time, and I vented that anger anonymously. I came up with a name. I think I Hate Duplicity was the name I used on the ex-Scientology message board, and I just downloaded, man. I just this is how I feel, and Ron Hubbard and Miscavige, and I called them names, and I was ranting, and I was very upset, and I kind of got a lot of things off my chest at that time, and kind of got some of that anger out. And of course, shortly after that, I started refocusing on what was I going to do now, and what was I going to believe, and how was I going to approach life, because suddenly all these rules and axioms and ideas about life, the universe, and everything were gone. I didn't have them anymore. I didn't know what to think. I was going to have to reevaluate, did I believe it? Did I think it was true? Did I know it was true? Or was it something L. Ron Hubbard told me was true, and therefore I had just accepted it? And this was all aspects of life. This was everything. This was, am I a spiritual being? Is there, what is clear? What is OT? Do these things, are they real? What has been my own personal experience with auditing? Did I really get gains? Did I really improve? Was it really helpful to me? The courses that I did that really, I had to reevaluate for myself, where do I stand? And what I very much didn't want to do was go from one cult into another cult. So I was very consciously not going to dive into some other belief system that somebody else formulated. I wanted to figure things out for myself. And that's when I just happened to come across skepticism, the subject of skepticism and critical thinking. And these were new subjects for me. I had never really read about or studied or known anything about them. And I was very fortunate, I felt, to be doing internet searches and come across this stuff. And I found the works of Carl Sagan. In discovering critical thinking and discovering skepticism specifically, I found it absolutely fascinating, and I loved the way Carl Sagan specifically wrote and spoke. I thought it was very appealing. I thought it was very factual, and I thought it was very logical, and it changed my mind about things, and it enabled me to change my mind because he wasn't putting information out there in such a way that he was trying to ram it down my throat. He was just, here's some information, do what you will with it. And I thought, that's the way to go. And so I decided that in December 2013, when I was going to start speaking out again and writing articles, and this is when I first started putting articles together, that the way I was going to change hearts and minds of those still in the church, or people who were recently out, or people who never had anything to do with it, no matter who I was talking to, it seemed to me that critical thinking and being reasonable and factual and using evidence was the best way to go. And I want to be clear about one last thing on this. That doesn't mean that I don't have feelings or emotions about the Church of Scientology. And I guess all I really want to say about that right now is I have a great deal of anger towards the Church of Scientology and specific individuals in that group, because they took things away from me in the whole process of declaring me a suppressive person and disconnecting me from people that I have known and loved for years, including a woman that I wanted to marry and very much was meant everything to me. And now she's not part of my life anymore, and I'm still pretty not okay with that, So it's not that I'm not angry; it's that I choose to not express myself that way because I don't think that's an effective way to communicate. And I know other people have their ways of communicating, and I think we all have our roles. This isn't just because I choose to be this way isn't a criticism of how anybody else is in terms of ex-Scientologists who speak out. I got nothing, I got no judgment on any of them. I support everybody who speaks out against the church and however they want to do it. But I choose to be this way because I think this is the best way for me to be. R.L. Steve. Crist, did you ever achieve the state of clear? If so, what did you think of it at the time? What do you think now? Even if the concept of clear is inherently flawed, do you think there's something beneficial to having gone through all the auditing to get there? For example, increased neuroplasticity in the brain, a general, more lucid feeling, less negative emotions daily, etc. When I was in Scientology, I did achieve the state of clear, and that was in 1993. And then I had it taken away from me in 2004, when it was kind of popular to tell people that they weren't really clear. And so that got taken away from me, and then I never did get any more auditing after that, at least not that kind of auditing, and so it didn't. So I never got it back. As terms of what did I think of it at the time, I was quite happy at the time. When it happened, I was happy for about a week or two. I mean, I was on top of the world. I thought I'd achieved a state that a handful of other people had ever achieved. And I think I was clear number, I still have the bracelet around here somewhere, I think it was clear number like 36,000 or something. I mean, that kind of tells you how many Scientologists there are, so much for millions of Scientologists, right? So, and I'll have to look that up because I don't remember. But anyway, I've made it clear in other videos, and I'll say again, that I don't believe that there is such a thing as the state of clear as described in in Scientology. I think it's a sham. And I think that anything that I got out of any auditing that I received while I was in Scientology was something that I could have achieved outside of Scientology. I didn't have to go through the processes of auditing in Scientology to get what I got, because all of the gains that I had in Scientology were impermanent, to say the least. There's a stress relief, there's a feeling of exultation, of excitement, but that goes away. and it doesn't come back until you go back in session, and it kind of, it in a way, it becomes its own sort of, you get your own fix on auditing. It becomes its own kind of, drug, and you don't have to have auditing to experience that. You don't need to do that. It's an artificial high, and I don't think that that's really necessary. I'd rather just live life on my own terms and deal with things as they come. An important point about this is, after I was clear for a while, when the problems of life would hit, stresses, situations, whatever, I had to start reminding myself that I was clear. When I was dealing with these things and I'd start getting upset, or I'd start having, I'd get angry, or I'd get emotional or whatever, in response to, situations. And clears, of course, are supposed to be, very rational, very calm, very cool, collected people. And it's not like they're not supposed to have emotions, but, you're not supposed to be reactive. You're not supposed to, have a reactive mind that's like triggering, and whenever I felt that was what was happening, I had to say, oh, yeah, no, I'm clear. That's not really what's happening. And I had to sort of do some mental shift to explain what was going on. And I don't think if I was really in a state where I no longer had, a reactive mind, and where I no longer had psychosomatic illnesses, and I no longer, had problems remembering things, I don't think I'd have to remind myself of that. And I think for me that was sort of the crucial point that made me realize something's wrong here. So, and again, I've talked to a number of clears and OTs since leaving Scientology, and actually even while I was in Scientology, who never achieved those things. And so I don't believe that those states are real, and I don't think it's worth the time or effort of doing the Scientology auditing in order to achieve states that don't exist. That's my take on it. Dayton Amnon. During your time in the Sea Org, did you notice any change in regards to how long the average teenager lasts after graduating from the EPF versus how long the average teenage recruit from your generation lasted? Okay, so the EPF is the Estates Project Force, and it's basically boot camp for the Sea Organization. That's the EPF. So when somebody comes into the EPF, they do study for 5 hours a day, and the rest of the day they spend, washing and cleaning and, doing a whole bunch of running around doing physical work in preparation for becoming an official Sea Organization member. So the question here is, did I notice any change in how long it took somebody to leave the Sea Org, once they graduated the EPF, once they became an official Sea Org member, during the 17 years that I was in? And the answer is yes, the time did decrease. The nature of the Sea Organization, what we worked on, the purpose of the Sea Organization changed over the 17 years that I was in it. I was in it from 1995 until 2012. And it was a wild ride, man. It was a rough and tumble ride for sure. Including 3 years that I spent on the RPF. That was a real ride. But over that time, the whole shift and emphasis of Scientology really did change. It can be argued that Scientology was always after people's money, and there's no, I'm not going to say it wasn't, but at least there was an effort being made up until when I got in there. There was an effort being made to sell services, to exchange with the Scientologists, to give them courses, to give them auditing, to sell them materials. There was something, we were getting something for the money. And Miscavige shifted that, especially after 2000, especially after the whole Lisa McPherson thing went down, and then later, a couple of years later with the basics and whatnot. The entire emphasis came off of selling and delivering auditing and training, and it went on to just give us the money, give us the money, give us the money. When that went out the window, so did a lot of purpose and a lot of drive and a lot of reason to be around doing what we were doing. And so I noticed that people hung around for less time, and there was a quicker turnaround time. People would come in, they'd get yelled and screamed and, all the crazy stuff that went on, but without any real purpose or without really ever feeling like they were doing a lot to help people. Why put up with all that abuse? Eventually that's why I finally gave in, and they leave. And that time got less and less, the time that it took for somebody to kind of look around and realize, hey, this is a bunch of crap. I don't want to do this. This isn't what was promised to me. And so now I know when I left in 2012, getting new Sea Org members was a real problem. The recruitment was down, and it had been going down, and I don't see any indication that it's gone back up. So anyway, that's it's part of Scientology's problem right now, is keeping themselves going. Wake Up FFS 2012. Enjoyed the video, Chris. Question: do you think the people in church have any real understanding of how bad their public relations are, or how they are perceived by the general public? I think they have some idea, even though they're forbidden from going on the internet. I think they still do, and I think they have some idea. When I was still in the church, and I was still working for the Sea Organization, the actual thing that first got me looking on the internet was I was looking for good PR about the church. I was looking for something positive about the church, and I was upset because I didn't think we were doing enough to promote ourselves on the internet, which was clearly the way that people were communicating these days. And that's how I actually started looking on the internet, and then found nothing but all this bad news about Scientology. And of course I couldn't read that stuff. And so it was upsetting to me. It was frustrating to me as a Scientologist to feel that there was just nothing but bad news from all these horrible critics, and not knowing why they were critics, or what, that they were completely justified in what they were saying. I just thought, well, the scales aren't balanced and we're not doing a good job of promoting. And I think that's probably a pretty accurate estimate of where most Scientologists are at when it comes to the internet, because they get so excited when they see commercials, when they see advertisements for Scientology. They literally will watch the entire Super Bowl, even if they hate football, just to see the Scientology commercial, so they can tell people, I saw the commercial, oh my goodness, And this is one of the reasons why I talked in my videos about the fact that there is no large-scale marketing or dissemination of Scientology worldwide. Because I keep wanting to hammer this point home that it's not happening, and it's not happening for a reason. And the reason is because David Miscavige isn't interested in getting new people into Scientology. That's not his game. That's not what he's about. And so I was trying to hammer that home so people who were still in the church could see that point. I think they know that Scientology is not widely popular. I think they feel that it's broadly misunderstood. I think they think that they are on the right side. They're on the side of good, and the forces of evil, are out there trying to take down Scientology, and they have very crazy wide conspiracy ideas about the forces that are arrayed against Scientology: the psychiatrists, the IRS, the governments, the World Bank, like all these massive forces are aligned to destroy Scientology. And if they, when I got out, it was quite an eye-opener, to find out just how insignificant Scientology really is in the big picture, and how little anybody gives it any thought whatsoever. So anyway, I think Scientologists are pretty deluded about their role and position in the world, and about the PR standing of the church, and I think they need to wake up and look around, and that would be the beginning of their wake-up process. Okay, so that's all the questions I've got this time. So I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or any comments of any kind for me, leave them here on this video in the comments section below, and I will gather them up, and we'll continue rolling these out. I expect to be doing these every week, as time permits, and as the questions roll in. And if and you guys still want me to keep doing this, I will keep doing it. So thank you very much.